Hello, and welcome to the webinar, Mobile Apps, Do They Make Good Business Sense for You? Please stay tuned. We will begin our program shortly. Welcome to today's webinar on mobile apps, graciously hosted by Gunter Media Group and the Library Publishing Coalition. My name is Marianne Kalahana. I am the Director of Marketing at Cenveo Publisher Services, and I will be moderating today's program. Today's agenda includes a short poll that lets us know where everyone is in terms of app development, a brief introduction to Cenveo Publisher Services and our panelists, industry statistics and discussion on metrics around mobile devices, content, and consumers of that content, and finally, we'll save plenty of time to take questions from you. You may submit questions at any time during the webinar by typing in the questions box in the GoToWebinar dialog box. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to that recording in a separate email after today's show. I invite you to share that recording with your colleagues. So a little bit of background about Cenveo Publisher Services. We provide solutions and services to journal, book, educational, media, and trade publishers. Cenveo delivers a full range of technology, content, and delivery solutions that escalate revenue and streamline workflows while ensuring editorial integrity. On the print and digital delivery side, we provide services such as print on demand, packaging, reprints and e-prints, distribution and fulfillment, apps, digital delivery of any content format a publisher would require. And on the content side, some examples of our services include DTD development, content development, copy editing and proofreading, production management, streamlined workflow, composition, conversion, and more. So here are just some examples of the ways we help publishers, but we are probably best known for our industry-setting turnaround times, and those can be as fast as 24 hours from manuscript to composed page. But today we're going to zero in on the digital side of things. And I am thrilled to have here with me today two professionals who have spent their careers working in the publishing industry. Jim McQueen is the Director of Digital Media here at Cenveo Publisher Services. Jim works with all of our Cenveo customers to expand their reach and provide digital solutions for content owners to improve their mobile services and ultimately increase revenue. Darrell Gunter is the founder and CEO of Gunter Media Group. With 30 years of experience in print and digital media, Darrell provides services to businesses seeking strategic insights into their operations. He is well known in the STM and scholarly publishing world and has just recently returned from the Professional Scholarly Publishing Annual Conference, where he was an integral part of the planning committee as well as a speaker on innovation in the publishing industry. And I'm Marianne Kalahana. I started my career in the STM publishing space and have held editorial, production, and management roles for both book and journal publishers. Today I take my publishing background and ensure Cenveo's breadth of services are communicated in a meaningful way. Now I'd like to introduce Darrell. Darrell.
Marianne, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone today. I think it's so important that when we talk about mobile that we really focus on how it's going to help our respective businesses. Well, let's get to the quick poll. Does your organization currently produce an app? And we had 50% of the audience say yes, our app is currently available for customers. 33% said no, we do not produce an app. 13% said we want to launch an app but don't know where to start. 4% said we're in the progress of releasing an app. Last night I was on a particular radio program and they were asking me about mobile. And they asked me, well, what would I stress to anyone involved in business in regards to having a mobile strategy? And I said, imagine if you were walking in your favorite downtown area and there's a shop that you wanted to purchase something from. The lights were on, However, the door was closed and it was locked, and you could not walk in. I said, imagine that is your business, not having a mobile app. The mobile app is going to do so many things for you to help you to augment your current marketing strategy. Now, it's very important to look at where the statistics, when we talk about the movement to mobile, it's interesting to note that when folks are looking to making their buying decision, they're now making their buying decision on, I know I need to have a particular computer device. Now, is it going to be a smartphone? Is it going to be a laptop? Is it going to be a desktop? Is it going to be one of the flip boards that we now see? But what's interesting is that we've seen a reduction of PC sale units year over year by 8.6%. And we're seeing that the other devices are growing. So when you look at the worldwide PC shipments, they're declining 6.9% in the fourth quarter of 2013 compared to 2012. And that is a very, very big dip. When you think about the user interface changes with each technology, that means folks are making decisions, buying decisions, not based upon, it is based upon the new technology, but it's also based upon the utility and the usability of those interfaces. Now, another interesting statistic is the growth of smart TVs. That's the statistic we don't show here, but all of the TVs that are being produced now are smart TV enabled, meaning that you can connect to the internet right from your television set. And we're going to see that that's going to have an effect as well. But when we look at mobile growth year over year is 25 to 43%, which is tremendous. And now we see that mobile now accounts for 12% of America's media consumption, triple up from 2009. And Jim, what have you seen from your perspective in regards to these statistics in the movement to mobile?
Well, the amount of time that people spend working within the mobile world today is growing continuously. So if you look at a mobile app, you're going to see that somebody will spend a longer amount of time working within your app and looking at data and content than they currently do on their website. And what's happening is, when they're at work, they're working and they're doing things and researching and stuff, but yet the tablet is with them wherever they go. So every time they have a chance to get onto the tablet and to look at their phones, they're constantly absorbing that content, looking for content, and catching up on what they're doing and what they need to do.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So that growth will be a constant, growth in the content world going into the mobile devices. We see a 43% growth, but if you look at the web search and the web content, mobile outleads the desktop or the laptop or anything else out there today.
There's a statistic by Morgan Stanley that stated back in 2010 that mobile is predicted to be bigger than the internet in 5 years, and that is a huge, huge statement. When you consider that 74% of the online retailers have already or really currently developed in a mobile strategy, we see that with the senior citizens, they have now moved from the flip phone to the smartphone. This statistic is one that you just can't ignore, that 56% of American adults are now smartphone owners. I know my mother-in-law, she is 77, and she recently switched to a smartphone. And I just find it so interesting that she finds it easy to use, and she's using a couple of apps on that phone. Jim, anything else you'd like to say? I think what this means to us is that you have to provide your content in an easy, readable experience, and quite frankly, that means that you really have to engage XML because you want to make sure that the data is structured in a way where it can be searched and found. Jim, what is your point of view on that?
Yeah, well, every time we turn around, the customer habits are changing because once they're looking for content, the search capabilities today are so vast and it keeps getting better that they're looking to consume the content in as many different ways as they can, and also collect content so that they can work with it. So the habits of the way they search, the habits, the way that they save things, the way that they view, um, as you talked earlier today about TV and everything else, the habits constantly change, and the need for any type of content that you're providing needs to be able to move and change with the way that your customers or consumer wants your content and how they're going to be using it.
You know, to that point, as you said, the content, it has to be, is expected to be in all formats, and also with a responsive design. And when we talk about responsive design, we're talking about a user interface that is very pleasing to the eye, but also very practical. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she is constantly on her particular smartphone that she has, and she has access to a desktop, she has access to a laptop, but for the most part, she's sending papers to her teachers via the smartphone, and she wants to make sure that that data is in a way that she can get access to it uh, very efficiently. So when you think about it, it's a very fluid process in regards to this user experience, because as we introduce new features, but as our community gives us feedback about what they want, it's a very fluid process. And that's why sharing and getting feedback is so important with today's content, simply because we want to make sure that we're serving up the content in a way that the community wants it. And the only way that that's going to happen is through a very structured trial and error program, and that adds to serendipity. What do you think, Jim?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I look at my college. My daughter's a college student, and she's, in applied mathematics. And when you watch her work, she's sitting there with her laptop, her iPad, and her phone. So she might have music running on the phone, but she's sitting there with the books on her iPad, and she's going through copying and pasting and sending it to her laptop as she's putting her notes together and she's writing her thesis, or she's working on a different project that she has. So when you look at the way that the new researchers, the new breed of the kids that are coming up in the world today, they're using all the tools that they have available. And if you notice, she didn't have a book in her hand. She had an iPad in her hand. So all of her books are there, and then she's working on all of her paperwork on her laptop. So as you see this, it's the way that we can provide the data to the tablets or to the mobile devices so that they can copy, they can paste, they can grab it, and that way they build themselves very good notes, they build themselves very good papers, and you can see what they're doing is the concepts that they're reading, they're catching quicker. So the classroom is not where everything's being taught. The amount of work that they're spending out of the classroom and using these tools are the prime example of what the future is for us, and why content needs to be formatted, and like we say, responsive design. The content needs to move to any device, and it needs to be able to be read easily, and you're not messing with it, but it also give you the tools and features you need to extend things for researching this, to extend it to your group, to extend it out to your social group, also to your work group.
Life is about experiences, and serendipity hits us at any moment. And that's why services like Evernote are so great, because, you might be in a coffee shop having a conversation with a friend, and you might see a truck drive by that gives you an idea. And so you type it into your smartphone, and then it goes into Evernote, and then it hits all of your devices, so the information is there. And that allows that serendipitous experience to really come true. And so what this means to all of our good content publishers out there is that customer satisfaction is achieved by the rapid delivery of useful software, and that consistent ongoing engagement with the end user, which creates, we got this new breed of researchers, as Jim was explaining how his daughter interacts with all of her material that she uses, that she's working towards for her degree.
The other part, we talk about sharing, feedback, and social. And that's such a vital, uh, we call thermometer of what your app is working and how it's working, and it's the data that you get from the feedback in the social group. So once again, you've got to really be paying attention to what's happening to your apps, and we'll talk more about metrics in that in a little bit.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about content consumption. You know, and it is so true. The surge in mobile means that the consumption of content will continue to increase, and how this content will be consumed is also so very important. So when we look to new markets or looking for content, and everyone understands the whole thing about big data and how there's so much data, but what good is big data if your users cannot extract value out of that big data? And that's where you see that the content creation process needs to be enhanced. And of course, XML to publish workflows is a very important way for that to happen. So you can make sure that the end user, no matter who they are, where they are, or how they want to access it, but they're hit with this idea and they're able to find that germane content that is so important to their particular project.
Yeah, like you're saying, content needs processed constantly needs to be enhanced. And if you look what's been going on in the last few years, every year we are changing the XML so that it can be broader, greater. It's got semantic tagging in it today. The tagging is much deeper. It's tagging other parts, and you're going from one piece of content to another piece of content. And this is going to continuously grow. And XML is the best way to publish. So basically, starting off with XML, you take your content, you get it converted to XML as fast as you can, and then you can edit it and change it. And the new apps that we've been working on are basically XML driven apps. That way we can update the content, change the content, and keep it moving. So XML to publish workflows is a very vital part of a couple of things. One, it's keeping the content fresh. Two, responsive design. And three, allowing your app to have features and changes in features without having to rebuild everything.
You know, and to this point, what this means is that people used to ask the question about whether it's a mobile device or XML, what's the ROI? Well, I have plainly said that the ROI is to be in business. It's one of those things that you just have to do if you're going to be a player in this information industry. Not having XML and not moving to mobile, you're really limiting the opportunities for your business. So just think about it, just like when you go into your office space, you turn on the lights, you got to have electricity. Well, you know, XML and mobile, you got to have them both to be successful.
And you hear the words cloud today and big data, and XML actually helps you keep the data thin and repurposable. And a lot of people just don't realize how much that helps in producing apps that are quick and responsive.
That is true, and on all of the data points that we're seeing, and not only the data points that we read about, but just walking through your particular town where you live or in your business environment, you see how interactive everyone is with their tablet or with their mobile device. You know, and when you think about, I love this quote by Sheryl Sandberg, done is better than perfect. It used to be back in the day when we wanted to launch a new service, it had to be absolutely pristine. However, now what's more important is that you want to start with your simple idea, but also have constant updates to improve it. Improve it because your customer base is going to be very helpful in helping you to stay on track to keep the application doing what you need it to do, or for the content that they want to see from you, how they want to receive that content. And so, you know, I always said anytime that someone writes something negative about your product or service, they're doing you a huge favor. They're giving you the feedback that you need to make it better. So I say, hey, tell me more. How can I be better? Let me improve that. So you want to welcome those changing requirements, because then you're building loyalty with your audience, because the audience says, hey, I suggested to them these changes. They heard me, they made those changes, and I'm very happy about that. And then it also helps to look at how you study your usage metrics. Just don't count on one or two metrics that you've used over time, but look for new ways that you can look at different types of metrics in your performance dashboard that's going to ensure that you're meeting the needs of your marketplace. I know, Jim, you have seen this transition from make it perfect versus to the very fluid process.
Yes, and you've got to get it out there because one of the things that happens is, first of all, when you're doing an ROI, you want to look at your customers and how they're influencing you, right? But you want to be a part of that influence with them and you back and forth. Also, retention. If you build if you put an app out there and you're constantly upgrading and changing it and you're listening to the users, your retention rate is growing and they're going to then recommend your app to more people, and then that continues that growth. So once again, it helps with the improvement of your revenue stream when you're thinking about it, as you're looking at the business issue and you're looking at the changes and the requests that people are making of your app. And that's just a constant flow that should be happening and changing all the time. Because once again, you're trying to build a loyal base. You're trying to build, metrics in that you can track your base. So once again, as you add new features, new updates come out, they're going to want to look at it. They're going to see it. They're going to see if it's easier to use. And then you'll see your metrics will start climbing in those areas. And that helps you, once again, with your cost, your ROI, your acquisition cost, and everything else becomes cheaper because you're in tune with your subscriber base, your member base, your constituents.
Yep. And Jim, earlier in our presentation, there was a poll. I'm trying to remember the stat. I should have wrote it down, but I think 33% said that they hadn't done anything yet.
Correct.
That's correct.
And I think that what we want to do is show them. Well, first of all, I think hopefully we've convinced them that they really need to look at this. But now let's show them how Cenveo can help them create this EPUB environment for mobile, which will allow them to cross that big divide. So, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Jim, now he's going to take us through the Cenveo mobile DPUB. Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. And part of what we've been doing, as everybody notices in the last few years, that app functionality is changing. Rich media, HTML5, email supports, and metrics are really becoming tied into every portion of it. Also, the way we build apps today, I've been doing digital products for over 10 years, and then we started with magazines and STM. We all dealt with the PDF. And then everybody started using the PDF as a replica of their product. And everybody's like, well, I don't know if that really pays off, but I can tell you, with looking at my top 40 customers, they're producing over 6 million page views a year using replica. So it does generate usage, it does generate buzz. Is it the answer? No, that was stage one. That's where everybody started, and that was affordable. But what's happening now is the apps are moving into XML, they're using InDesign, they're using Quark. Layout programs are helping build apps, so the cost of apps are coming down. And also the other part is, everybody was putting an app out for one particular issue or one title. And nowadays you can do multiple issues. So in other words, and we'll show you, we have 6 titles in an app today. And that way it still has all the functionality of one, but you're basically now with an ROI, you have 6 titles in one. You're sharing that cost amongst all 6 titles. It also allows everybody to search across those titles and copy notes and do things. So it just helps expand their capabilities. And as you start talking about it too, is the way that we can allow tagging and different things within the apps today to help send notes, help it to send it to your teams, that remind you what you need to do, go back on putting things together, helps you distribute the information easier, and it helps you expose it to your social group, your social media. So when you look at our business process, we actually start off with what we call starter apps. or starter browser-based replicas. We move into the business field where you're looking more at where XML is driving it. You're looking more of it with in-app purchasing. You're adding different features to it. You want it more condensed to exactly what it is, and you're putting a set of features together directly to fit your business. And then custom apps. And of course, what happens with custom apps, that's mostly niche today because really a custom app costs you more to build. But if you can go back into the business apps, you can build apps and replicate them faster by having a set base of features that you can use, and then you build on it as you build your mobile base. And that's one of the reasons that we actually come out with 3 different methods of approaching apps. And it's really depending on your needs and what your goals are, and we can help you talk about how it works and how it'll start. We have a lot of customers that start in the replica market, build their audience, and then they flip them over into a non-replica, more interactive process. You want to pass it over and I can...
Yeah, Jim, I'm going to give you control, and maybe you could show us an example of how Cenveo Mobile Depub offers an easy way to enrich your content. Using the tagging structure, you can show semantic enrichment and actually improve distribution of publishers' content to different media, different outlets.
Yes, and this is the Society of Petroleum Engineers. This is their journal home. This is an app that's on iTunes. It's also come on Google Play and Kindle. So it's going to hit the 3 major markets. What we'll do today is we're going to look at the ways of saving data. As somebody goes through their app, they can look at it in a responsive mode, so it can basically be landscape or portrait. But what's kind of nice is you could go through here as you're looking at these articles, or if you go to the DOC and find the article you're looking for, you're able to create notes. So I'm going to pick up the summary. I actually want to save this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm actually going to put it in a note. But at the same time, I want to create a tag about this note because I actually want some people to see this, or I want to build a group of articles from multiple journals. And so this is basically around drilling operations. And I'm just going to create a tag like that and save it. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to go into my notes area, which I have right here in the toolbar. And you can see I just created drilling ops, and there's the one note. Earlier today, I was looking for all the articles around geomechanics. And then I collected 3 articles. They're coming out of different journals, but I could view the article by just clicking on it and going directly back to it, and it loads it right up. Or I can once again go back to my notes and to the geomechanical. I can view the article, or I can just look at the note I wrote, or I can actually, at this point too, I can email all 3 of these to a group of that I'm working with, and I want to share it and say, here, look at this information, and everybody can get it. So there's my 3 notes. These are the links. They'll be built in here, and I'll send it off to them. And it really makes it easy to use. You can do bookmarks. We can do notes. And also you have all your social pieces here. So you can save an image. You can assign it to a contact, add it to your reading list. Once again, you can send a message or an email, or you can post it. If you have your own private page that you're with a group of people, you can post it directly into Facebook very simply. So what we were trying to do is allow tools here to help the researchers and help people that are working within these fields to have ways of collecting notes, saving notes, and distributing notes amongst them, all the different apps and the different issues they have. So as you see, I've got 6 different journals, and I can just go here and look at the different ones. I either haven't downloaded them yet, or I will. And the other thing too is I'm not I don't have a subscription to all of them, just 4. So you can see where the other ones, I could still purchase an article if I want to, or a journal through in-app purchasing, or just work through the ones that I'm actually have a membership to. So this helps you actually build, like I say, once again, I want to make a drilling out notes. You do this article. So, and it's much more of an interactive way of doing things. It's much more way of keeping your notes, what you're looking for, things I need to do. So once again, these are just the type of tools through the feedback through our customers that we have learned, and we just basically keep improving the process and to make it easier for the users. And we get feedback practically every day. And what we do is we keep a log of that feedback, and we will be presenting that feedback in a page that was being put together to talk about all these journals and the app and how we can help the consumers to go through the apps and what they need to do. So,
Thanks.
in that,
Thanks,
I
Jim.
will pass this back. I can answer any questions as we go into the answer session.
Yes, and I'd like to remind everyone to please feel free to submit questions at any time. I also wanted to promote something that we're doing at Cenveo Publisher Services is we're polling all publishers and information providers to understand how they're making digital pay. You can click on this link when you see the slides posted on our website later. There will also be a link to this survey in a follow-up email. And what we're going to do is gather information from the spectrum of publishers to understand what they're doing, and we'll be writing up the results and sharing it in a white paper with everyone who submits. Collectively, I think we can learn a lot by understanding how publishers are really achieving ROI. So at this point, I invite you to submit any questions you have, and we've been getting a couple that have come in, and I'll throw this one out to Jim and Darrell. So one person asked, is it faster to publish an app than it is to print? In this case, it's a journal publisher.
This is Jim. Now, with the advent of the XML-based apps, when an article can be released, but yet not make it to print because the article is waiting for a issue to be put together, and then it's going to be printed. So it could end up being, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So today, what's happening is a lot of customers are journals in scientific market space are looking to publish, so they publish online. With the apps that are built today, we can actually publish individual articles as they are prepared and ready to be published. They might, and that way it's actually published before print. It's published at the same time, maybe on their site, or it's being published just in the app to give that advantages to the people that have the app that can look at it. And that's really nice about the new workflows that we have today. So we tie directly into the need of the publishers to get the articles out faster, and by using the XML, it allows us to manage it on a per article basis.
Okay.
And Jim, I'd just like to add, just from a user standpoint, they want to receive the information in as many ways as possible and as soon as possible. So making sure that they're getting access to it, whether it's their mobile device or their laptop or their desktop, and of course, for those folks who still want print, whether it's print on demand, it's so important that they're able to receive the information by those various different channels.
Yes.
Thanks, gentlemen. Someone asked if they have to have XML to produce an app.
And it's, once again, no, today in today's world, we can actually produce apps using PDF, InDesign, um, Quark. So we basically could take your either even take your Word files and move them directly into InDesign and be able to publish directly to apps today. Apps today have a lot more capabilities that we can put the data into in a better structural format, and that's exactly what the InDesign, Quark, or XML does. It allows us to create structure. But like I say, today, if you look at the majority of the magazines or a lot of the journals, they're still using their print PDFs and directly going into an app or into a browser mode.
Okay. Does Cenveo Mobile Depub provide user metrics? Can you speak to that, Jim?
Yeah. We basically tie directly into Google Analytics right off the bat, and Google Analytics has a tremendous amount of capability of tracking today. Not only that, we work with few customers to add certain specific tracking mechanisms to put into certain things too, so they might want to filter that out and track it. But today, Google Analytics has really expanded what we call the tablet mobile tracking process. So you'll know exactly how many people have downloaded your app. You can see exactly how many screens are being viewed, the time. You can break it down further because if you have subscriber or membership, you can start tracking the UUIDs, which then tracks the device. So as we're used to doing the web tracking, it's the same process, but it actually gets down to a device level. So you can literally filter and track devices. You're not actually even though it belongs to somebody, but every device has a unique ID to it. So you know how many different devices are connecting to your content. You could see which devices are connecting the most. You can see where your usage is coming from and the amount of time they're spending. And what's also nice, when you start adding the social share, the notes and all that, the searches, you're tracking all that data. So you're grabbing that data so that you can understand how your customer is using your products. How are they using the notes? How are they using search? How are they using their links? Are they linking through? The other part of it too is with apps today, most of the apps keep the customer within the app. So it might link out to a website, such as with SPE, we link back to many of their sites that they have, and you're still in the app, but it actually opens a window up and you're working just like a normal browser. And so once again, that helps us track their data, what's going on, and it also tells the web portion of the customer site that it's coming from that mobile device. So the knowledge today of what's going on in the mobile world is growing and what we can do visually. Now, we don't go by name and track each individual person, but we are tracking the devices. We are tracking how much time that device utilizes the tools, and also where they're coming from, the countries, the states, and all that. And that really helps us understand our market, our customers, and just be able to add more features.
And that leads me into the next question. If I want to change the behavior of the app, how does the app get customized for my publication's needs?
The main business app we're using today is XML driven, but it's basically built from a style sheet, or what we call a transform. So we basically put together a style sheet for the display of the articles and the content. And we build that style sheet, and if 6 months down the road it's not working, you're getting feedback, and we can build another style sheet. We don't have to rebuild the entire app. We're going to just rebuild the style, and then we'll publish the data into the new style. So what's nice about that, that would have been a complete rebuild in the past. For today, we're basically keeping a lot of the parts of the app being managed so that it can be changed more frequently, makes it a lot more fluid, and you're not totally rebuilding your app. You're just making your updates, your adjustments. You're adding new features. So you're keeping your constituents abreast of things, and also they're keep coming back because it's improving on a continuous basis.
Thank you. What is the time to market for creating an app if no work has been done yet?
Um, there's some variables there. Okay, one of the variables, and we just launched. We're getting ready to launch another app at the end of this month, and it has 11 journals in it, but it went back 6 years. So we have 11 journals with 6 years of data. So we have like 200 issues that are going to be available in the app. So when you look at that much work, of course, that's a lot of work that has to happen. But what we did is, while we're producing the issues and setting it up, we were fine-tuning the app, the design, and putting it together. We're releasing apps in 3 months now, with a lot of not customization, but colorization, using our base. They can change their headers, their colors. So it's being all 100% branded for them. It doesn't have our name anywhere associated with it, even though we do maintain the support centers. But what you're noticing is, in today's marketplace, we're able to put him up quicker than we used to. So we have a client we're talking to right now. They've been preparing for this, and so that we see that the speed to market is what they're interested in. So we're looking at cutting that 3 months down to a month and a half, 6 weeks, and that includes the time of approvals. And a lot of people don't realize that you still have to, when you build an app, you have to have approvals from Apple, Android. There's a little bit of approval, but Amazon actually is probably today is the toughest approver. And so when you're approving, you got 3 apps to go through that process. That's the other thing too. The apps that we're building today, we're making sure that they go across platforms, across devices, and we are basically building them for the most use today. So iPad has the #1 use, Android is second, and then Kindle Fire has been growing, and especially in this type of market space, in the STM market space. But Kindle Fire, of course, was basically magazines and books, but now it's starting to grow for other parts, and so we basically added that app. We're also adding a fourth process, and that today we can actually build the app and also replicate the app as HTML5 so that it can be utilized and used on your laptop just like it does your tablet. And so we are truly building a better feature set, and we're making sure that we cover as much ground and as many devices as we can for our customers.
Thank
Jim,
you.
to add to that, it's important for the publishers to really give thought to the scope and the functional requirements that they want the app to achieve to help in the process of moving it forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you speak to the availability of searching functionality in an app for a journal publisher?
Yeah. What's worked out well with the XML today, and even the replicas, when you bring all your issues together, okay, it's all saved as XML. You can search through that entire field. So in other words, I have 6 journals sitting in one app right now. I can search through every issue of all those journals and pull up information. I at the same time can search the web looking for information inside of the app today. So the search capabilities is gone greater, and then also the tagging, that's the semantic tagging that is being done in the scientific medical world today, has allowed that search to go even further, because it's going to pick up this piece, then it's going to give you a link and relate to the next. And plus with the search being able to go through multiple journals, it allows you to grab what you need today. and you don't have to grab the entire thing. One of the things that we do on our search is we provide back to you the search is the sentence in front and the sentence behind the word or the group of words that you're searching, so that you can read that snippet and understand if that's what you're really looking for. So it's not just bringing back the, oh yeah, in this article, here's these words. It's actually giving you the content around it, so you can make a decision whether you want to go there or not, or I want to save it and go there later.
Thanks. Here's an interesting question for Darrell. Does the increased use and expansion of mobile apps mean that publication websites will become obsolete?
Oh, absolutely not. I think you're going to find that that's going to be your home base where your content is going to that's your data warehouse, if you will. I think that what we're going to see is that the apps, whether it's on a mobile device or a tablet, it's going to direct the person to the full text article. And so we're going to see that that's going to be very important. Recently, I had a client debate me of whether or not he needed a website or not, and I just said, let's not be silly. Your content has to have a home somewhere, and your website is that home.
Thank you. I think the biggest concern that everyone has is related to cost. So, what's the cost to create an app? And I recognize that's a hard question to answer because all content is different. But Jim, maybe you can speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, one of the things today when people talk about ROIs and what they're trying to accomplish, you can build an ROI today for your digital apps. You've got to be ready to, once again, market it. No, just having an app sit inside of iTunes or Google Play or Amazon Kindle's area, or sitting in a newsstand somewhere isn't going to be found if you're not directing people to it. I mean, there is so much out there today. So no matter what, your website is still your face to the world because people are going to search and they're looking for specific data from that customer or that journal or that website because of this information they're looking for. So the marketing portion of your app is still critical. So you always have to have new leads coming. So your app will start creating some of this marketing for you. Your app will give you new leads, but you got to start looking at the cost structure. So you got a base cost to build, and then you have a cost to maintain. And now you want to determine, okay, what's a lead worth? What is a new subscriber or a member an added value? What's the dollars worth there? So what's the in-app purchasing value? So there's, today, if you don't have an app, you don't have in-app purchasing. So there's another e-commerce revenue stream that's created with every app that you put out there today if you're publishing that's tied to subscription or a membership, because you can sell individual titles and not have to sell a full subscription today. So people can get just what they need or what they're looking for. So when you start and you look at retention, and sessions. So tracking your metrics today shows you your ROI also is a big part of it. So if you look at your web metrics and you're paying attention to how long they're spending time on your website, how long are they spending on specific pages or specific topics, you're gathering this data, and then you turn it around and say, okay, if I can double that time, what is that value? So if I could take a session that's on the web, it's only lasting 5 minutes, and I take that person and move them into an app, and the session goes to 12 to 15 to 18 minutes, there's a value to that. So when you build an ROI for an app, you're looking at, you got your acquisition costs, your leads, your influencers, your customers coming back, social bringing new customers in, retention rate, and you can see all this in your metrics. How long are the sessions lasting? A lot of times people put apps out, and especially Society of Petroleum Engineers, this is no longer in print. It's only available on the iPad and the Kindle and the Android now as a tablet application. So these 6 journals, well, actually 5 of the journals don't print anymore. So one of them actually never did. It was all online. It was economics and management, but that's now moved to the app also. So you've got a mixture of non-print, one that is print, and one that was online that's moved into the app. And that's what we see. We're very creative with our customers, and we try to help them look at as many ways that they could tie in value into the app and how they could look at cost reductions in other areas. And print happens to be one of the reductions that happens when you bring an app involved. We've seen it. We know it's there. It doesn't end print. It's just some people do. It's all depending on the size of your audience. But we do see the ways of doing this and gathering this data and tracking it, and you'll see that your app pays for itself, and you'll actually see revenue streams coming as long as you're looking at the right metrics for that proper ROI.
Yeah, I know, Jim, when I speak with publishers, we've spoken of this image of a triangle for digital and apps, with 3 equilateral sides of why publishers need apps. And there's obviously revenue, increased revenue, or revenue from new streams previously unrecognized, and that would speak to in-app purposes. There's customer needs, which I think is very interesting, and the example of Cenveo's customer, Society of Petroleum Engineers, who went to a mobile app to serve their members. Their members are literally in the oil fields and need the app to access that information. And then there's survival, like Darrell said, is your ROI. Your ROI is to be in business. So I think that that image of a equilateral triangle with 3 pieces really serving the business reason to produce apps.
I mean, it's easy to see, when you go out, you go to, there's certain locations where people gather because it's during the workday and they're doing things and are in between meetings. So you go to a Starbucks, you go to a Panera, you go to these other little restaurants that have this free Wi-Fi. You're connecting, and what does everybody have out? Either a phone or a tablet. And so once again, yes, you're trying to serve all your customers. So you've got to have your content, like you're saying in the triangle, it's got to be reaching everywhere because your customers are coming from everywhere. And the one thing too is the globalization that it's been going on for a while, but now you have an app, and the nice thing about it is now anybody can pick up that article, even if they're in another country. And the one thing too is most people still want to read English, even though they might be sitting in China.
Mm.
So once again, your global reach is growing. Everybody's walking around and using these tablets for everything that they can think of. And the more you see, it's inevitable. I see a lot of comments around. You go to dinner and nobody's talking to each other because everybody's on their devices. So our world has become a device-centric world.
So I'd like to end with one final question that we might not have the answer to right now, but it's certainly thought-provoking. And there were early adopters of apps from the initial launch of the iPad in 2010. So are there any statistics that either of you are familiar with related to those early adopters who are reinventing their app now to meet new technology and user habits?
That is a great question. I know we have statistics in regards to how folks are, what's going on, but that's a statistic I'm going to have to look up to find. I know the information is there somewhere, but one statistic I'd like to share with you is that 75% of the people that were polled take their smartphone into the bathroom with them.
Yeah. One thing, and I'll do some research on that because it's a really good one to do. I do, just in case everybody understood, there is a Facebook site out there and a tweet site that I publish tons of information that I gather from all different sites about metrics and what's going on in the industry and the numbers. Um, and my site it's got a lot of data there. So if you're looking for data to help you with your ROIs, if you're looking for data, I have a collection of data there and articles that you'll see, and I'll definitely look for and do some research, and I'll find it and I'll publish it up there.
Yeah, and Jim, I will publish a link to that website on the Cenveo Publisher Services blog. Um, and we'll be sure everyone who's attending this webinar gets a link to that. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I want to be sure to thank everyone so much for your time today. I want to be sure everyone knows that if we did not get a chance to cover your question during the webinar, we will follow up individually. Feel free to contact me if you have any additional questions. I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn to keep apprised of blog posts and events and upcoming webinars. And stay tuned to your email. You'll have a link to the recording of this webinar, and you can share that with your colleagues. Thank you so much, everyone, and this concludes our webinar for today. Thanks, Jim and Darrell.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.